Last night, when signing the executive orders declaring the cartels foreign terrorist organizations, the president was asked about boots on the ground. Take a listen.
President Trump, if cartels are now going to be seen as foreign terror organizations, would you think about ordering U.S. Special Forces into Mexico to take them out?
Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
This is actually an executive order designating the cartels and other organizations to be foreign terrorist organizations.
That's a big one.
Yes, sir.
People have wanted to do this for years. So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign. And Mexico probably doesn't want that. But we have to do what's right.
All right, Jonathan, when he says stranger things have happened, what does it look like, assuming the president declares war, and he has a lot of powers to do that with Congress, depending on how it works, of targeted drone strikes on cartel leaders, Navy SEAL raids, Delta Force, whatever it is, raids on drug lab production facilities, fentanyl trafficking organizations?
Well, first of all, Leland, he doesn't have to declare war because these individuals are on a terrorist list now. The United States is technically in a offensive as well as defensive position now, and they can bring all of the assets the United States has to bear, which includes intel, military, and also the white collar aspect of this, because people have to realize these cartels are businesses. If they're not making money, they're not going to exist. And so now the United States can look at them the same way they look at Iran, for instance, and go after their financials. Although the difference here is that primarily cartels are a cash business, but they can start to go after them and the nations in which they're in and put pressure on them and start working this systematically. When I was in Colombia, we led training missions, and we were not allowed to go in there as a military operation
I get that.
because it was a law enforcement
I get that,
operation.
Jonathan. My question, though, is how difficult really is it? I mean, when we think about these cartels, and they are gangs, in many cases, they have armies that are better equipped than, say, the Mexican military. But it wouldn't really take that much, would it, if the order was given to go down to Mexico and start knocking some heads, a few drone strikes, a couple raids, and the cartels might have a problem recruiting people all of a sudden, wouldn't they?
Well, it could be, but see, the cartels are involved in the intimidation process of a lot of these states, the neighborhoods, the people that work down there. So when you look at the people who work for the cartel, there's a difference between those individuals, the soldiers for the cartel, and the leaders, the actual business leaders of the cartel. So they're going to define all these things. If they just went down there and tried to start knocking heads, you're going to get into a quagmire because you just push them into the shadows. And so we have to look at this systematically, which I believe Trump will do. And as far as the border goes and the immigrants, you can see that the border, every drug case that I was ever a part of in the FBI went back either to the Canadian border or to the southern border, but they always involved cartels or drug organization, criminal enterprises outside of the United States.
Jonathan, excuse me for interrupting you. President Trump just talked about this a few minutes ago. Take a listen.
Canada, very much so. They've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive. And people are getting killed, and families are being destroyed.
If President Trump, and it seems to be in the process of, quote unquote, sealing the southern border, how much of a crimp does that put on the cartels that may make going after their drug trade easier?
It makes a tremendous impact, or it is a tremendous impact on their ability to move their product, if we look at this as a business, into the United States, which is their biggest buyer. And so blocking the border, putting a wall there on the southern border means that you are causing their main delivery avenue a disruption. So that is exactly
Important.
what we need to start doing, is looking at these individual ways. But I have to point this out, Leland. This is not now, because they've designated these individuals as terrorists. It's not just a law enforcement issue. It's now a national security issue. And so that puts all the assets at play, which is way different than the cartel issue in Colombia before this issue arose.
You think about it just in terms of terrorism, it's about time, right? You at some point with fentanyl deaths, you're having a 9/11 every 11 days. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.